Over the past decade, the Philippines has experienced a series of national issues that dominated public attention. For weeks or months, the entire country seemed focused on them. They filled the headlines, they dominated television discussions, and they sparked debates across the nation. There was the pork barrel scandal, a controversy that raised serious questions about how public funds were used. Soon after, the country faced one of the most devastating disasters in its history, Typhoon Yolanda. And not long after that, the tragedy of Mamasapano forced the nation to confront difficult questions about leadership and coordination. Years later, the headlines shifted again. The war on drugs dominated the national conversation. Then the COVID-19 pandemic reshaped daily life across the country. And during that same period, new controversies emerged involving healthcare funds and government spending. More recently, the spotlight moved to other issues. Questions about infrastructure spending, the expansion of offshore gaming operations, debates surrounding confidential funds, and the unresolved mystery of the missing Sabungeros. Each issue captured national attention. Each one became the center of public discussion. But if we step back and look at these events together, something unusual becomes visible. The country moves from one major issue to another, and as each new headline appears, the previous one slowly fades from public attention. Not because the questions were answered, but because the national conversation had already moved on. To understand why national issues seem to disappear, we first need to understand how modern headlines work. News moves quickly. Every day brings new events, new developments, and new stories competing for attention. In a country as dynamic as the Philippines, the flow of information rarely slows down. In the past, the rhythm of national news was largely shaped by newspapers and television broadcasts. Today, information moves through social media, digital platforms, and 24-hour news cycles. Stories spread within minutes. Reactions appear instantly, and public conversations can change overnight. This constant flow creates a natural competition for attention. Every new issue pushes previous stories. Slightly further down the list of national priorities, what dominated the conversation last month may no longer appear on the front page today. Not because the issue has been resolved, but because something new has captured the spotlight. For journalists, this pace is part of the profession. News must reflect what is happening now. Editors decide which stories deserve immediate attention, and audiences expect updates about the latest developments. But this speed creates an important gap, because while headlines move at the speed of hours or days, the processes responsible for resolving national issues move much more slowly. While headlines move quickly, the institutions responsible for resolving national issues operate at a very different pace. Courts, oversight agencies, and legislative investigations follow procedures designed to ensure fairness, accuracy, and due process. These procedures are rarely fast, and they are not meant to be. When a major controversy emerges, investigators must gather information. Documents must be collected, witnesses interviewed, evidence examined and verified. Every step must be documented carefully, because the conclusions reached can carry serious legal consequences. In cases involving public funds, oversight agencies conduct detailed audits, financial records are reviewed, transactions are traced, reports are prepared and submitted. These processes often take months, and sometimes years to complete. Legislative hearings follow their own times. Committees gather testimony. Officials respond to questions. Investigations may produce reports and recommendations for policy reforms. But even these processes rarely produce immediate conclusions. From the perspective of institutions, this slower pace is necessary. Careful procedures protect due process. They ensure that decisions are supported by evidence rather than speculation. And they help maintain the integrity of the legal system. But while institutions move step by step toward resolution, the national conversation often moves on, long before those processes are finished. When a new national issue appears, the spotlight naturally shifts. Media coverage follows the latest developments. Public conversations focus on what is happening now, and the story that once dominated the headlines slowly moves into the background. This shift rarely happens because earlier questions were fully resolved. In many cases, investigations are still ongoing. Hearings may still be scheduled. Reports may still be under review, but without the same level of public attention. Those developments become harder to follow. Over time, earlier controversies become part of the National Archive. Their records remain. Documents still exist. Cases may continue through institutional channels, but the collective sense of urgency that once surrounded them gradually fades. For most people, this shift is not deliberate. Daily life continues, new concerns appear, and the country naturally focuses on the challenges that feel most immediate. The result is not necessarily silence, but distance. When we place these events side by side, the pattern becomes clearer. One issue rises, attention gathers, then another issue takes its place, and the national conversation moves forward once again. The questions do not disappear, but the spotlight does. Looking back at these events together reveals something important. Each issue once commanded the attention of the entire country. Each one raised serious questions, and each one began processes meant to uncover answers. But as new events appeared, the national conversation moved forward, leaving many of those questions somewhere behind the headlines. This channel exists for a simple reason: to look back at those moments, not to reopen old conflicts, not to assign blame, but to understand what happened after the headlines faded. By examining these issues together, a larger picture begins to emerge. Different events, different moments in history, yet the same pattern repeating across time. A national issue rises, attention gathers, and eventually the spotlight moves on. Understanding this pattern is not about dwelling on the past. It is about recognizing how public attention works, because a society that remembers its questions is better prepared to ask them again. History is not only written through official reports, it is also shaped by what people choose to remember, and by the questions they continue to ask. Because sometimes the most important story is not the headline itself, but what happens after the headlines move on.